today we will be discussing a little bit more about the ways to plug into the NFTs markets. How can you go about finding where the markets are, and then how can you go about actually tracking some of the projects in these NFTs markets? Yesterday, we had Adrian here talking about the way to find new NFTs projects on Twitter, on crypto Twitter, by searching hashtag NFTs, NFT art, NFT sale, NFT drop. In all of those hashtags on crypto Twitter, if you'd like, are the way to just go in and you know find your way into tracking the market. I actually started tracking a few of the online calendars. So there's an NFT calendar.io that basically lists new projects. And what struck me as I was going through the NFTcalendar.io is that there are quite a few, like Wall Street Chads is the first, project that's listed on this NFTcalendar.io. And I really was intrigued by it because it kind of mimics the memes that were happening in the market with GameStop and other interesting stocks, where these individual investors were moving markets, like the GameStop stock, to such an extent that they were sort of beating the odds that the stock had in the equity market at the time. And so Wall Street Chads is an NFT project. That is basically a decentralized investment platform. There are 3,333 Chads. They're leaving their mom's basement to build the greatest decentralized hedge fund in history, inspired by the Wall Street Bets community in moving global markets. And so, as I started reading more about the Chads, I was intrigued enough to maybe go in and mint one, because you can mint one right now. But what's really interesting with some of these projects, that they really have obviously thought through the media and the message and the marketing component for these, Wall Street chads quite a bit. They've done a really good job developing, the offering. It's quite interesting. It has an interesting business model behind it. It's listed on the NFT calendar. It's being sold on OpenSea. But as you go into the website, this is the one thing I was kind of not so excited about. And you try to click on their Twitter account, it doesn't go to Twitter, and their Discord account doesn't go to Discord. Light paper doesn't go to the light paper. So they had Yahoo Finance and Globe Newswire and Market Watch and Yahoo News write-ups, but their website is basically not clickable. So that to me is a red flag for an NFT project that has spent time and resources in building this offering. They have beautiful graphics, they have beautiful story, they have a really interesting business plan, but the website is actually not working. So to me, as I try to decide what projects I want to get involved with, I would definitely not be minting one of these Wall Street chads. um, so then I thought to myself, okay, so if I'm going to the nftcalendar.io and I'm trying to figure out, what to spend my time on, then what else should I be doing to kind of do some due diligence on the NFT projects? Beyond the fact that I'm in the clubhouse every week, I know people like Adrian and Terry and Chris and everyone else who's actually working on bunch of NFT projects and promoting bunch of other NFT projects. So just beyond sort of the clubhouse family that I've gotten to know over the last year, what else should I be doing to find interesting NFT projects early, right? Because don't you feel like sometimes you're like the last person to know about a mint or about a project? um, before everybody else has already done it, and it was sold out in 30 minutes, and you definitely missed it. So there was a really interesting newsletter by William Pastor from Metaversal, who is actually tracking NFT projects himself. And he actually created a newsletter this past week, just as I was wondering what to do, as to how to find new NFT projects if you feel like you're not getting inside the right community quickly and or getting on the whitelist quickly. So the first recommendation by William is to use discovery apps. So there's a discovery app called Context, and that app lets you track the NFT activities of certain groups. Like, for example, you can track the activity of all the CryptoPunk holders in real time. So you can see what are they buying, what are they selling, and why. The Context app also lets you organize wallets so that you want to follow, so you can customize your discovery experience. So it's not really, it's not a great advice just to follow people blindly. But this sort of app kind of allows you to see what the cool kids that have been, spending years here on the Clubhouse and Twitter and, in NFT drops and NFT mints are doing. And you can sort of follow their leadership into maybe some new projects. So after you get the context, or some other discovery apps, you can follow the leaders. So if there is an NFT builder or creative that you're a big fan of and then you share tastes with, you can follow them, on social media. So that you want to stay up to date with their work, but also observe as they, start to promote other projects that you may be interested in and talk about. So like if somebody, one of the influencers that I know was talking about Wall Street Chads, after looking at the story behind it and the beautiful graphics, I would be a lot more comfortable, minting that particular NFT. So going to some of these influencers and people who are spending a lot more time that you may be spending following NFT projects, developing NFT projects, and helping promote NFT projects may be useful in order to kind of decide for yourself what are some of the projects that you want to be interacting with, minting, dealing with, managing, buying, selling, etc. And then you can look at you can keep up with the aggregators. So the aggregators are some of the new sites that are curating notable developments on a rolling basis. So if you look at, I already signed up for some of these Telegram channel, but there is something called on Telegram the Daily Ape, which is a channel founded by Darren Lau that covers daily DeFi and NFT headlines. And that channel could be interesting to find NFT updates that you haven't seen maybe before, and learning about other chains' NFT ecosystems. So, the one thing that's happening with NFTs is that many of the NFT drops and NFT collections have been on Ethereum. Ethereum gas fees are extremely high. So, as you're trying to find projects to get involved with, you may not want to be exclusively on Ethereum. You may want to look at Solana projects. We're working with Wax Chain on one of the projects that's more in the high art, valuable art category versus a collection drop at the moment. But Wax is starting their collection drops and automating their platform to allow for more collection drops. And almost every blockchain, layer one, layer two on the planet is trying to create their own NFT marketplace and focus on their own NFT drops. So there on the Daily Ape, which is a Telegram channel, you can find out what other NFT ecosystems exist. Um, So you can basically figure out, what kind of wallets you need to have to participate on Solana. You need a different wallet than to participate on Ethereum. You also need to know, what those tokens are worth as you start to, buy Solana's tokens versus ETH, et cetera, et cetera. So this will give you an idea of what else is available. The other way that you can get into some really interesting NFT projects is through the alpha chats. So, some public NFT chats have great open discussion, news sharing, and analysis. Um, it's not like you're going to be 100% certain that if you join one of these chats, you're definitely going to get, the best information all the time, but at least you will get sort of the pulse of where the industry is going and what are some of the things that people are talking about. You can get some of the sentiment behind some of the NFT drops that are happening in the market. So, one of these kinds of chats is called NFT Avenue, and it is on Telegram. And that's basically the NFT chat arm of Lobster DAO. So some of the DAOs are now kind of aggregating chats and news and information about the drops. The fifth thing that you could do to find the new NFT projects and don't have the FOMO of not being in the know on each of the major drops that are happening around us is to analyze NFT activity trends. So there, one should really pay attention to the volume surges that some of the projects are having over the 24-hour or a 7-day period, or maybe sometimes 30-day period. These volume surges, just like they would help you with analyzing tokens, they would help you identify new and trending NFTs that you may want to be associated with. um, in some of these um, NFT activity trends aggregators, you can also you can have simple options like sorting volume stats, et cetera, et cetera. So one of these aggregators is an NFT marketplace aggregator, GEM, and you can have some more premium options like Nansen's NFT Paradise Dashboard, and its 24 NFT market overview section. So some may be premium prices and some may be just available to use. So if you were to, you know, kind of recount everything we talked about today, which is how do I find out where the cool NFT projects are if you don't have, 24/7 time available to be listening in on Clubhouse discussions. The first place to start would be, according to Adrian yesterday, crypto Twitter, and look at searches like hashtag NFT, hashtag NFTs, hashtag NFT community, hashtag NFT artists, et cetera, et cetera. All of, NFT drop, it's the NFT minting. These hashtags on crypto Twitter at the moment are, basically some of the most popular hashtags on the whole platform. You can try to find some Twitter Spaces discussions or Clubhouse discussions on NFTs. And then thirdly, you're going to take some of the, if you need a little more information, you can go down the action steps that we talked about today. So you can check out the Context app. You can sign up for the Daily Ape on Telegram. Um, and you can also sign up on additional Telegram channels, like an NFT Avenue, or let's see, what's the third one? Yeah, so basically, several different NFT channels that talk about NFT projects. I think the Daily Ape and NFT Avenue are probably the top two that I would go to. And you can also look at the volume stats of NFT marketplace aggregator GEM to see how the volumes of daily tradings are faring out. CoinGecko would also list top NFT projects and top NFT marketplaces, so you can kind of see what marketplaces you want to follow, if any. So that was my quick summary today of what to do if you are actually deciding to jump into the NFT marketplace and you don't really know where to start. And where you don't want to start is you don't want to open your DMs on Discord and just hope for people to invite you to projects, because they're definitely you would probably get a lot of fraudulent invites. So start with the actual aggregators and sources that are valuable and that are industry standard at the moment. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to jump into discussions that I'm having this week with several companies, which is should we do a token offering or should we do an NFT drop, and why? And so many of the people who want to do a token offering usually come in and say, "Hey, we should create a DAO." It seems to me that raising funding for this particular project is simpler, and project can be anything: a venture, hedge fund, some other form of a fund to invest in X, Y, and Z projects, and it should be a better structure as a DAO versus it should be a better structure as a traditional fund or as a traditional venture backed company. And so I think the discussion has to start at a very different level. What is the project trying to accomplish and why? So if it's a hedge fund that's investing in a type of an asset, let's say, real estate or golf clubs, they want to invest in golf courses and golf businesses around the world. If that fund is investing in these projects, the question is going to be, why do you want to form a DAO? Do you want to form a DAO because you need a community to support you, to support the project, to support the business? Or do you want to form a DAO just because you think that would solve the governance issues and sort of the ability of people to invest in projects alongside with you? So as you review the topics on, you know, what the company really wants to do, one has to ask the question, is this really a tokenized project? Or should this be an NFTs drop first and then a tokenized project later? So in most projects today that I'm seeing that want to create a community that is collaborating on the project in some way, either by participating in the decision making or participating in the project creation or participating in the project management, one should really think about an NFT drop first and then think about tokenizing that project. So, why an NFT drop first? It seems that the NFT drops are allowing people to basically come into a community and become a functioning member of that community above and beyond just a token holder or an NFT holder. So you can create a club and an engaged community with an NFT drop. Once that engaged community or a club is there with an NFT drop, in a subsequent step, one can actually go and create a tokenized offering. So before deciding on whether to DAO or not to DAO, if you like, think through what this business is actually doing. What is the business providing to its community, and what can the community provide to this business? So in the example of a business that's investing in golf courses and golf businesses around the world, for example, there's a decision whether to buy a certain golf course and or invest in the development of a certain golf course. That could be something that's done at the sort of management level of the DAO, or it could be done with the community. If you own an NFT in a project, you could be voting on things. It doesn't have to be just a tokenized project in order to have the voting power, right? So with an NFT project, which is really an interesting new way of organizing companies. One can set standards as to what the owner of NFTs can or cannot do. So it's much more flexible than even some of the tokenized structures. So before you embark on creating a DAO, because that's the best way to build something in 2022, you may want to think through what what are the major issues the community needs to solve, and how should this community be compensating, and what the NFTs do for the community as a step one to kind of organize the community and have some seed funding to get the projects going, and then think about the structure, the tokenization, creating the token economy, etc. So there's quite a few steps there. So that's something else that's been happening this week, which is basically almost like mixing metaphors. I'm finding that people who are not, fully vested into the crypto space are trying to understand the difference between NFTs and tokens and what DAOs mean, and et cetera, et cetera. And they're somewhat mixing what those organizational structures and what those business models can actually do for them in different situations. So just like in any business, one has to really think through, what am I trying to accomplish with this company, with this organizational structure? Why am I embarking on this particular organizational structure? And how is this actually going to help me um, manage my business better? So, those are the few things that one should really think through before deciding that this is an NFT drop, or this is a tokenized economy, and this is what my DAO is going to look like. And is it going to be a membership DAO, or a governance DAO, etc. Then I want to talk about a little bit about the venture markets. There seems to be a bit of a disconnect between what's happening at the token level, at the crypto markets, which have been um, indexing with the traditional equity markets at the moment. And the crypto markets were supposed to be the hedge. Everybody was expecting Bitcoin and some of the altcoins to be the hedge on the equity markets. And because of the turmoil in the global in our US economy and global economy, et cetera, war, et cetera, that's going on at the moment, the equity markets have tumbled, and now the crypto markets are tumbling. And if you listen to Mark Cuban, of some of the top thinkers in the space, they would basically say that the reason why crypto markets are not, kind of a hedge yet, with respect to the rest of the economy and the equity markets, is because they're still very nascent. The crypto markets are still very nascent in their development. And Cuban would even, equate the way we are in the crypto market today to the internet markets in the sort of mid 90s to like late 90s. So we're not quite at that late 90s stage yet. We don't have, first of all, we don't have a network that's integrated. So there are all these dichotomous blockchains, layer ones, layer twos floating around, and the true interoperability doesn't exist. So we're not seeing scaling of some of the major apps, like NFT marketplaces, on top of these native chains, because the chains are not integrated and there's not interoperability of these networks. So if you sell an NFT collection on OpenSea, it's not in essence interchangeable on other chains, so you can't track it. You can resell it somewhere else. There's quite a bit of infrastructure that needs to be built out in the space in order for this scaling effect that everybody's expecting, in terms of Bitcoin and altcoins kind of holding steady as a hedge to inflation and other problems that we're experiencing. Um, so we're still early in this market. We're seeing some major uptake and major trends in terms of NFTs taking over. Every large company on planet Earth is having an NFT strategy. This did not happen as much with the internet development. I would say by the second half of the 90s, there were definitely applications developed on the network on the internet, but most of the major companies had some strategy, but their web strategy was very much a small subset of their strategy. It was not something that was sort of seen as mission critical. If you're in a consumer market today, if you're selling to consumers anything from trackable goods to like luxury goods, you have to have an NFT strategy. So I would say in this web 3.0 world, we're actually moving in multiple directions in kind of redeveloping our world as we know it. And we have a lot more interaction from top tier companies in the space. So that's a little bit different. And probably, within the next year or two, that would kind of create a critical mass in the market. Why do I feel very bullish on the development of this tokenized world? If you talk to institutional investors who are basically funding venture funds and hedge funds and in essence funding the space, it's like they fund the funds start, institutional investors start kind of at the top of the pyramid, and then everything else gets funded. If you talk to them, they're funding about 70% of tokenized ventures at this point and 30% of just pure equity ventures. And that just shows that there will be a lot more institutional funding going into tokenized ventures. In my mind, a tokenized venture is not just like a venture that's an altcoin that has its own cryptocurrency, but many of these NFT launches, that become ventures, whether they're media companies or some other form of a consumer good company, they will also be part of that tokenized investment pool that institutional investors are chasing at the moment. So I feel that we're going to be experiencing proliferation of the tokenization in many different directions. So we're going to see more NFT projects. We're going to see more tokenized projects subsequent to NFTs being launched, and we're going to see more liquidity in the markets. Why do institutional investors like tokenized projects? So that's another thing that I was, pondering this week. Um, and I've spoken to some of them. And if you are a venture investor or private equity investor or institutional investor in general, you're seeing three types of outcomes for each venture that you invest in. One outcome is a successful sale of the company through an M&A transaction, obviously a very good outcome. Another good outcome is going public, an IPO transaction of some form. And then the third outcome is the venture actually dies, it ceases to exist. So you really have three options and three outcomes in terms of seeing some return on your investment into a privately held venture, um, private to public. But if you are investing in tokenized companies, you are actually sometimes shortening the time to a successful outcome for yourself as an investor, because some of these tokenized ventures are liquid very quickly. So you as an investor can get out of that venture faster. You can also notice that the community and therefore consumers and of that particular product are embracing the venture, and if they embrace the venture, you actually could gauge how your investment is faring quicker. So that really helps. I mean, some of the investments I was involved in, in the traditional event on the traditional venture side, lasted 7 to 14 years to kind of see an outcome from that particular company. That's a very long period of time. With some of the crypto companies, because they have NFTs or tokens, you're seeing some sort of results as to how the venture is doing in a much shorter period of time. So the institutional investors like that. if you have a token inside your investment and or an NFT, you could be selling those and divesting of the portion of your investment quicker, so you don't have to wait until an M&A transaction or IPO only to see some return on investment. You have liquid assets inside this investment that can be liquidated faster. So it really shortens the time to exit, and it also gives you a preview of how the market is responding in a much faster way than you would in traditional venture investments. So from the institutional investors, not just that they're buying crypto, they're buying Bitcoin, they're buying altcoins, but they really see a value to what they do for a living in having this liquidity inside the companies they're investing in. So they actually like tokenized ventures, and we will probably see more of them. I'm going to call you, Joe, to help me moderate this session. Um, so those were some of the things that I was noticing in the market this week. We also published a couple of newsletters, and in our newsletters, we were discussing the fact that venture capital markets, not just the study that Galaxy published, but globally in Latin America, for example, were quite active. There was a report that blockchain and crypto investments were higher now, almost tenfold. They grew almost tenfold during 2021 in Latin American region, and they outpaced conventional venture capital investments in Latin American regions. So um, globally, the investments into the crypto space have outpacing anything they were seeing before. The Galaxy report basically states that there was 33 billion invested in the venture capital markets in crypto. The venture capital invested 33 billion in crypto last year, and so that is quite extraordinary because it is more than probably all of the years up to that point. And we have the group from Galaxy discussing this in the virtual Infiom Salon next Wednesday at 12:30. So join us for that if you can. I am quite excited to actually hear them explain what's going on in the VC markets. Um, so in terms of dichotomy, there is that if you talk to IDOs, IEOs, launch pads, angel investment groups in the crypto markets right now, they're slowing down in terms of their investments into the space. And that's kind of fascinating because while the institutional markets are chasing these tokenized ventures, the angel markets are somewhat slowed down because the crypto market is down. So it really is something that I'm hoping will turn around, in the near future, because we should have more seed funding and we should have more angel funding going on into these markets right now, especially when we suffer a downturn in a certain economy or a class of digital assets, if you like. That's the really best time to launch new ventures. This has been proven time and time again over the years. So I think this is a really good time to think about, uh, if you are starting a new venture, start thinking about what you want to launch and why. How is this solving a real world problem? And then start developing your tokenized strategy surrounding it. So will you be dropping an NFT drop to launch your venture, get some seed funding, get an initial community excited about what you're doing and helping you kind of manage the launch? And then think about the tokenized economy that would make sense for all of those participants in your community. And this would be actually a very good time to launch these kinds of ventures. We're in the early stage of the market, according to Mark Cuban. as compared to where the internet market was, in development time for crypto. So we're still early. So there's still plenty of opportunity for anyone interested in launching ventures. So that's like very important point. Number two, the NFT drops are extremely popular and the whole world is interested in NFT drops. So to market your NFT drop and to, market really, I don't want to encourage you to market an NFT drop, but to market a new venture with an NFT drop, I think that's the better way to think about it. So if you have a wonderful business that you want to create that can, benefit from a community participation, this is the time. Early in the market cycle, NFTs are very popular and many people have embraced them, and they've sparked up a lot of interest in the space and venture building among many, many constituencies. So that's all the good thing. Thirdly, large companies are coming into the space, large brands, Fortune 500 companies, they can help you develop your business. And then institutional money is actually interested in investing in these kinds of businesses. So altogether, you have a great environment to launch new ventures. So even though some of the angels may be sitting on the sidelines and not investing because they're not seeing a 10x return in your token, on all of the launch pads right away, this is a good time to launch real businesses that will, shift the world that we live in many of these metaverse digital directions. But it has to be well thought through, real business that can really help everyone involved in it. So just looking at this report from Galaxy, just to give you kind of the coordinate system, why this makes sense right now, why launching a venture right now will be very helpful. So there was 33 billion invested of venture capital into crypto blockchain startups into 2021, more than all prior years combined. 22 billion of that, so 67%, which is two-thirds, went to fundraising rounds with deal sizes above 100 million. So there were some major rounds. Um, and crypto blockchain startups received almost 5% of venture capital deployed in 2021. Valuations in the crypto blockchain space were 141% higher than the rest of the venture capital space in Q4. So that's really fascinating that the valuations kind of skyrocketed. It heightened a founder friendly environment and the intense competition among investors for deal allocations. So, this is a really good time to start a business when VCs are competing for allocations in quote unquote hot deals. It's another reason why, this is a good time for venture initiation. Um, Deal sizes were elevated, but comparable to the rest of the venture capital landscape. Um, at least 43 companies that raised venture capital in 2021 are unicorns. They have over $1 billion valuations. So this is an interesting thing that happened, in this market. So quite a few unicorns were formed. Pre-seed deals count continue to decline. So this is kind of interesting that I feel that this is kind of going in the wrong direction, while Series A and later stage deals are growing. So in this is the discussion that we had with an accelerator just this week, where they did not want to invest in a company that didn't already have revenue, or a company that didn't quite launch their MVP. And interestingly enough, all the companies that are raising Series A right now did get their pre-seed money in 2020, 2021, maybe even earlier, before they launched their MVPs and before they had revenue. So the seed market has really kind of shut down again, or pre-seed market, if you like. And people are just expecting teams to basically bankroll their MVPs and get somehow to revenue again. So that really hasn't changed much as many of the companies I was advising in 2020 and 2021 had to get to that point as well. Um, Companies offering trading, investing, exchange, and lending services to digital asset investors led the pack with more than 41% of the capital share. But startups building in NFT, Web 3.0, DAO, and metaverse subsectors came in second with 17% of the capital allocation. And where my perception is a little different than the Galaxy, digital research report here is that many of the fintech, basically DeFi projects, these are the companies offering some of the lending services and digital asset services to investors. Many of those actually have launched with NFT drops first, and we've showcased few of them in our salon and in our clubhouses over the last month. So I would say that there's not much of a delineation between, fintech and or DeFi and the rest of the market. It seems that DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, Web 3.0, and Metaverse, or Web 3, if you like, and Metaverse are all sort of connected into that next generation of startups that are decentralized and have more liquidity. That's the way I would characterize them. And then finally, what the report says is that crypto focused funds are larger than they've ever been, and that 62% of managers that raised in 2020 also raised new funds again, or additional into their funds again in 2021. Um, so interestingly enough, if you look at crypto blockchain investments by stage, um, there's quite a bit invested in sort of like that Series A and later stages. Um, so the portion of invested capital that went to earlier stage companies grew in Q4 to like 60%, but it was mostly Series A. Um, a sign that companies founded earlier this year were making strides and investors were taking notice. So they were supporting something that has kind of already launched. Um, Deal counts were elevated in 2021 with more than 2,000 deals struck across all stages of investments. However, the portion of deals completed involving the earlier stage, the pre seed, continued a multi-month decline. So if you want to go out into the market right now, you need to have some sort of an MVP launched. And this is why a lot of people are doing NFT projects as well, because it allows you to get that pre-seed stage launched for the company and get to the MVP before the market will embrace you and give you some of the later stage funding. And the crypto VC funds have expanded in size and scope, and people always ask me who are the top, crypto funds. Um, and if you look at the fund closings, like Paradigm closed the fund on November 15th with 2.5 billion, A16Z on June 24th with 2.2 billion, Have Mind Capital Partners November 29th 1.5 billion, 10T Holdings, September 8th, 750 million. Pantera Capital, one of my favorites personally, closed the fund November 23rd with 600 million. Initialized Capital Management on December 14th with 530 million. Borderless Capital on December 1st with 500 million. Jump Capital on September 14th with 350 million. Jolt Capital. These are all funds that have been investing in crypto for a very long time. September 6th, they got 320 million, and then Blockchain Capital on April 14th of last year, 300 million. So these are top tier funds that have been in the space for a very long time, and they've all gotten in the 300 million plus to 2.5 billion raises to invest in the crypto space. So um, more than 700 billion was invested by venture capitalists in startups of all stages in 2021, the largest amount of private investment in early stage companies ever recorded. um, because venture capital is sort of early stage capital. And in the terms of the venture capital investment, crypto blockchain startups received just under 5% of all money invested, which is the highest portion ever for that particular segment of the market. Um, Continuing a trend that has been ongoing for at least 5 quarters, the disparity between valuations for crypto blockchain startups and those for broader startup landscape continued to increase in Q4. And with crypto blockchain startups getting some valuations at all-time highs across the entire VC landscape. There was some pre-money valuations in crypto blockchain startups that were at 70 million pre-money, which was 141% higher than 29 million seen across all of the VC investments. So it's a very strong sector. But going back to the beginning of our discussion today, which is how to launch. Should you launch your venture now? Which definitely yes, as there's a lot of capital kind of ready to deploy into these ventures. And then how should you launch the venture now? This kind of ties it all together, because there is a lot of capital available from institutions into this market right now. But the way that you should approach this is you should definitely think through engaging the community and creating a pre-seed and seed environment of your true friends and family extended to your community, if you'd like, to do the first raise of capital into your venture, and then go beyond that for your series A into the venture capital markets, and enlist one of these funds that I just kind of went through, that have raised quite a bit of money in the space. These are maybe top 10 funds, but there's hundreds and probably thousands of funds globally that are right now investing in crypto investments. So that's all I have for today. I hope you guys can join us next week. We actually have another room tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're starting a room that discusses a sci-fi community and NFT drops in the art and sci-fi category. We'll have some of the founders of the sci-fi art anthology join us, as well as some of the people managing the LA Sci-Fi Club, etc. So come tomorrow at 9 a.m. To our new room here on Infiom. And the next week, we have our traditional Ask Us Anything about NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs room at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have our virtual Infiom Salon. We're going to get into the Galaxy venture capital study and have the team from Galaxy go through it. We also have a team from Dash, which is one of the Bitcoin forks, coming in to talk about their progress with their branding and using of Dash currency globally and in Latin America. And we'll talk about some of the venture capital study for Latin America. And we'll have a couple NFT projects presenting, followed by a discussion here in the clubhouse at 1:30 p.m. and then our new room on Thursdays at 9 a.m. discussing NFT drops and art, both sci-fi and art drops. So thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing everyone next week.